Good afternoon, everyone. This is Paige Easton with Iowa Workforce Development. I'm a member of the Iowa Employment First team. Welcome to the Iowa Community of Practice. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm covering for Jess, who's at the National Aptitude Conference in St. Louis this week. Just a couple quick housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar will be recorded and shared to the folks on the mailing list along with the presentation slides. Live captioning is also provided, so if you need closed captioning to participate in the webinar, the stream text link is in the chat box, which you can find in the control panel along the right side of your screen. If you have any questions or comments as we're going through the webinar, please share those in the chat as well, and I'll make sure they get to the presenter. A survey with some evaluation questions assessing today's webinar will launch right after the conclusion. Please be sure to complete the survey. We really value your feedback and we use it for future planning. So without further delay, I want to introduce Keri Osterhaus, Vocational Rehabilitation Program Manager at the Iowa Department for the Blind. Keri is going to talk to us about supporting job seekers with low vision and blindness, the services available, and how you can partner with the Iowa Department for the Blind to serve job seekers in your community.
I think that was my cue. Thank you, Paige.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
I am so happy to be here to share some information with all of you regarding the Iowa Department for the Blind. So as we go through this today, some of our goals will be to learn about resources, services, and training from the Iowa Department for the Blind, to understand ways to partner with the Iowa Department for the Blind, and to examine some personal expectations related to serving individuals who are blind or have vision loss. So a quick overview of the department before we get too far into this. The Iowa Department for the Blind really uses a client-centric approach to achieve our mission to empower blind Iowans to be gainfully employed and to live independently. The department really is a resource to educate, train, and empower Iowans who are blind as they work to gain or improve skills that will allow them to obtain, retain, or advance in competitive and integrated employment. Our main office is located here in Des Moines, Iowa. However, we do have vocational rehabilitation counselors, vocational rehabilitation teachers, and rehabilitation technology specialists that are assigned to every county across Iowa. So the Department for the Blind offers a number of services through our vocational rehabilitation program, which includes our Education and Training Division and the Adult Orientation and Adjustment Center. Other services include our Business Enterprise Program, which assists clients in pursuing self-employment in vending or cafeteria businesses. Our Independent Living Programs, which serve Iowans with vision loss ages 55 and older, or individuals who are under the age of 55 and have secondary disabilities and are not interested in pursuing employment. The Independent Living Program helps those individuals to pursue training in adaptive techniques for independent living activities such as cooking, cleaning, reading, typing, shopping, or travel. And then the Iowa Library for Accessible Statewide Services provides materials in alternative formats for those who are unable to read print due to vision loss, physical disability, or other disabilities preventing an individual from reading. The Iowa's collection is home to around 300,000 items, which are all available by mail and free of charge. And materials can be provided in Braille, large print, digital, audio recording, Braille print, or twin vision books, descriptive videos, and electronic text. Our Instructional Materials Center does partner throughout the state with schools and individuals to provide textbooks and other educational materials in alternative formats for students of any age or Iowans who are looking for jobs. With regards to employment, we can also assist employers in getting materials provided to employees, whether it be onboarding materials, training materials, or anything that they need to help to make them successful in the, to make the, or help the individual be successful in the job. So one of the things I really like to point out when we're just talking about the library here briefly is really to remind people that anybody who has a disability that prevents them from accessing print information is potentially eligible for this service. So it is not just for individuals who are blind. And a quick note, our library recently had a name change. It was and has been the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, which is, if you've worked with us in the past, that's what you probably have known it as. But we recently had a name change to the Iowa Library for Accessible Statewide Services. So with vocational rehabilitation services, they are provided to eligible individuals who have developed a plan for employment. Our vocational rehabilitation counseling staff across the state provide significant amounts of guidance and counseling to individuals throughout the rehabilitation process. In addition, we have assistive technology services, which include worksite assessments to assist individuals in selecting appropriate technologies in the workplace, employer consultations, technology demonstrations, and trainings. We also provide skills trainings in the area of non-visual techniques, also known as blindness skills or alternative techniques of blindness. These skills are crucial to our clients, as the skills themselves provide a way for individuals who are blind or have vision loss to be able to do the things they want to as independently as they're able. These skills include travel with a long white cane, accessing print and other information through Braille or assistive technology, learning alternative ways to prepare meals, managing one's household and finances, and taking care of oneself or others. And most importantly, the skills assist individuals in raising their own expectations about what they can achieve when given the opportunity. The Department for the Blind also assists clients in accessing academic and vocational training, in addition to apprenticeships and on-the-job trainings. Job search assistance and job placement services are also provided to assist the client in reaching their employment goals, and include follow-along services in providing consultation with training to employers. We also provide pre-employment transition services to students who are blind or have vision loss across the state as they explore careers to assist them in determining a plan for their future. So what do we mean by the term blind? At the Iowa Department for the Blind, eligibility for services require that the individual is blind, has a significant vision loss, is functionally blind, or has a degenerative eye disorder, which is quickly resulting in the loss of vision, and for which the prognosis is legal blindness. So the piece to keep in mind here is that the individual does need to have vision loss in order to access our services. Legal blindness, just to kind of talk through this, legal blindness includes either a central visual acuity of 20/200 or less in the better eye with correction, or a visual field of 20 degrees or less. Functional blindness, however, is when an individual has to use so many alternative techniques to perform tasks that are ordinarily performed using their vision, that their pattern of daily living is substantially altered. In addition to having a substantial impediment to employment due to blindness, the individual must be able to benefit in terms of an employment outcome and must require VR services in order to prepare for, obtain, retain, or advance in that employment. Just so we're on the same page with different types of vision loss, I want to look quickly at a couple of these. The first photo you're seeing on the left-hand side is a depiction of macular degeneration. And with this, macular degeneration really blurs the sharp central vision you need for that straight-ahead activity, such as reading or spelling or driving. In the picture we're looking at, we see two individuals whose faces seem to be blurred out. They're holding different balls. One looks like it could be a soccer ball, and the other looks like it might be a football, maybe, but it's orange. In the second photo, we're looking at a depiction of glaucoma, which is a group of eye conditions that result in damaging the eye's optic nerve. If left untreated, vision can be reduced to a narrow area, which goes down, often known as tunnel vision, and then total blindness. In this photo, we can more clearly see the two individuals. However, the area around their faces is really faded and then darkened out completely as the further out the individual looks. And then the final photo on this slide is diabetic retinopathy, which is a leading cause of blindness in American adults, often caused from blood vessels swelling and leaking fluids, or by abnormal new blood vessels growing on the surface of the retina. In this photo, we see the same picture. However, there are large areas that seem to be darkened out, making us have to decide as the viewer what's going on in that photo. And two more. On the slide on the right, we are looking at an individual with cataracts, what they may be looking at. So cataracts causes clouding of the eye's lens. Most cataracts are related to aging, and it's very common in older adults. In this photo, we can see the image of the two boys, each holding different balls, one an orange and the other a soccer ball. However, as we're looking at this, it's obviously very blurry, and some describe it like looking through fog or looking through a window that has been fogged over or even iced over, depending on the individual. And then the final one is retinitis pigmentosa, which is a rare genetic disorder that involves a breakdown of loss of cells in the retina. Some common symptoms with retinitis pigmentosa include difficulty seeing at night and the loss of peripheral vision. In the photo, we see only pieces of the two boys' faces, and the rest of the photos are darkened out completely. So those are just a few examples of, what an individual might see with those different eye disorders. All right. With this next slide, at the top, there is a vision loss examples, and when we send out these slides, I'll encourage you to go into that and play with it a little bit. The website itself does take an individual through early stages of those different eye diseases that I showed you all the way through more advanced stages, so that you can kind of see the wide range of how vision loss might affect an individual. In the United States, there are about 56.7 million people with disabilities, which is about 1 in 5 people. There are 8.1 individuals around ages 15 and older who have identified as having a vision impairment in the United States. And in Iowa, there are approximately 450,000 individuals with disabilities, and of those, about 60,700 identified as having significant vision loss. About 80% of the individuals who have vision loss have some form of remaining vision. So it's important to remember that there are no generally accepted definitions of the terms visual impairment, low vision, vision loss, or other terms used to describe a person who is blind. This is one of the reasons that the department often refers to individuals we serve as an individual who is blind. So please know that throughout this call, when I say the term blind, I am referring to individuals who are blind, have vision loss, refer to themselves as visually impaired, or those who identify as having low vision. While I know I showed those photos earlier, please keep in mind that every individual is different, and there will be times where you don't understand how the individual's vision works, what they can see and can't see. So please just feel free to ask that person to describe their vision if it will help you to understand the accommodations that they might need in order to access your services. All right, so some quick myths and facts about the department. Individuals who are blind only see darkness is really a myth. Only 18% of those identifying as having a visual impairment are classified as totally blind. Individuals who are blind compensate for vision loss by having better hearing, taste, sound. Really, in fact, many individuals learn to listen more carefully or remember things without taking notes. So it's not a special ability that they have. Most individuals who are blind are proficient in Braille and own a guide dog. This is definitely not true. Braille is something that needs to be learned, and guide dogs are really only effective if the individual is proficient in using a cane first. Next one, people who are blind have vision loss, cannot work or hold a job. Again, obviously that is what the Iowa Department for the Blind does, and we believe that with proper training and accommodations, individuals can work competitively. And accommodations on the job are too expensive for employers. Really, most accommodations are under $1,000 and are easy to implement. And then the final one is people who are blind or have vision loss cannot access print or handwritten materials. And technology has really made nearly all print accessible to individuals who are blind. Computer software can translate print into speech, magnify screen images, enlarge text to readable sizes. And really, human readers, live readers, take care of the rest of that. There are some apps out there that they are working on that are meant to be able to read handwritten notes and materials. However, we've not seen one here that we would fully say is really good. A lot of times that being able to read those handwritten materials does depend on the person who's writing them as well. So, all right. So, hopefully, just to go over some quick things about how an individual with vision loss does different types of activities. For individuals who are reading, an individual who is blind might use large print, Braille, audio, screen readers, magnification, or, as I said earlier, a live reader. For writing, an individual might use a wide line paper, 20/20 pens, slate and stylus, Braille note takers, or a scribe, an individual who's writing the information for them. When looking at measuring items, there are tons of things out there like talking scales, talking thermometers, calculators, watches. There are devices like rotomatics and rulers that are tactile and allow an individual to feel how long something is. And then with cooking, there are lots of different devices that an individual can use, for example, on their stove or microwave, such as adhesion dots or using puff paint. So some pretty simple accommodations to make a kitchen a little more accessible. And then a lot of times, you know, when we look at kitchens, there aren't a lot of things that or devices that are really needed to be brought in. It's more about just learning different ways of telling if food is cooked or where the pans are on a hot stove. And a lot of it is, you know, relying on your sense of touch with the heat and making sure that you just know what's in your kitchen. With walking, individuals are using cane travel and using other senses. In addition, some individuals are using guide dogs, and others are using things like, others are using sighted guides sometimes. Accessing the internet, we have screen enlargement and screen readers, and then getting around town. Individuals are doing all sorts of things in order to get around town, hiring drivers, walking, using public transportation, and Uber and Lyft have really changed things as well. So there are lots of options and different ways an individual can do the same things individuals who have sight are doing, just a little bit differently. In this photo, I'm just showing a picture of Braille, just in case you hadn't seen it before. But in the picture on the left, it's showing an individual who's just running their hand across a Braille on a page. And then underneath that, you'll see a Braille cell. And then on the right-hand side, it shows the different dot positions for the alphabetic, the written alphabet. And then in this photo, we're seeing a picture of Refreshable Braille, which is a device that allows an individual to read information that is being presented on a computer or screen. So some simple accommodations that we look at are things like wide line paper, 20/20 pens, talking scales, Braille writers, refreshable Braille displays, screen enlargement, computer systems, screen reading systems, and CCTV. So it really does go from simple to complex, depending on the individual and what their needs are. So one of the reasons that I am here today is to talk a little bit about expectations. An individual shared once that he was afraid that he was not going to be able to participate in life after going blind. His parents and those around him, his team, would not let that happen. And throughout his time, though, he faced many who doubted that a person who was blind could reach the top of one of the most dangerous mountains. Others felt that he was a risk to even be a part of the team. Eric Weinemeyer reached the peak of Mount Everest on May 25, 2001, and along the way inspired others with barriers to work hard, expect greatness, and to achieve greatness. Some key things that I think are important with Eric's particular story is that Eric had a team of individuals around him who cared, who helped him plan for his future and did not let him do less than his best. And above all else, they expected him to succeed. Eric knocked down barriers. He confronted those things that challenged him, like wrestling and rock climbing, attending college, becoming a teacher, and being a world-famous mountaineer. But by knocking down those barriers, we're able to find hidden strengths that we may not have known about before. We have to see each individual that we work with for who they are and what they can do, not what they can't do. And finally, overcoming adversity. It is so important to have individuals around us to support us when others are saying that we can't do something. We have to find ways to believe in ourselves, not in the beliefs about our abilities that others put on us. So I didn't explain the picture here. It's a picture of Eric Weinemeyer on top of a mountain. For those of you who don't know his story, he was the first individual who was blind to summit Mount Everest. So it's a pretty cool story if you haven't had a chance to look into it. Just a little bit of a few more stories as we're talking about examining some expectations. Sally participated in a class in which the expectation is to prepare a PowerPoint presentation and deliver it to the class. She was told, though, that she doesn't have to compete or to complete the PowerPoint. The teacher let Sally know that he is going to allow her to complete an outline and deliver the presentation from her chair. Sally let the teacher know that she could do the presentation and that she can take notes and that she can present at the front of the class. So I'm going to stop here and see if this is going to work at all. But if you could take just a second and think about that story and think about what might have been wrong with that story, or did you notice any issues with the story I just shared? Is anybody on?
Yeah, Keri,
I'm
we're
not seeing
on.
anything in the chat box, Keri.
Yeah, and all of the attendees are muted.
Huh?
Sorry, I think we might have thought it was maybe like a rhetorical question, but if anybody has any feedback or things that you noticed, type it into the question box on the GoToMeeting control panel.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything, so I'll just keep going. So really, one of the things that was really great about this situation is that Sally knew her abilities. She wanted to participate in the same way as her peers, and she wanted to be held to the same expectations. What you're hopefully recognizing, though, is that, number one, the issue should not have even come up. The teacher should have known that Sally could participate, should have expected that she would be able to put together a PowerPoint presentation like her peers, and should have expected also that he could teach her how to do the assignment if needed. One of the pieces that's really frustrating too about this particular story is that Sally had to ask to be treated as an equal. Okay, so we need to remember that our expectations for clients to participate, to be competent, and to achieve shapes the way individuals perform and interact with others. Another quick story, George and Steve are both students participating in a training conference. Both individuals are blind. However, George does have more usable vision, which often gets him into trouble. At the hotel, the teacher gave their room keys to George, explaining that he would be in charge of the keys for the weekend and he would need to help Steve. We have to be careful not to fall into the trap of what we call the hierarchy of blindness, a belief that because one has more vision, they are somehow better off. Individuals who are blind and have learned proper travel techniques, learned to use long white canes, and have had a chance to build up their confidence using those skills are often better travelers, more independent, and more successful than those who are trying to use that residual vision. Another quick story, Jenna is often expected to participate in group meetings at the local state office building. She has asked for presentation materials ahead of time, has explained her reasons to her supervisors, and just wants to be able to participate at the same level as her peers in meetings. Her supervisor has had difficulty with getting presenters to come into their meetings with materials in accessible formats so that Jenna can access them. Her supervisor decided to take on a new stance that if presenters were coming to their meetings but not providing materials ahead of time or in formats that all staff could access, they would not be handed out until everybody was able to access the information. I share that because often what we see happening is an individual, whether it's in school or high school, college, meetings, work meetings, church meetings, you name it, a lot of times accessibility is not thought of as individuals are preparing for meetings or for an event. And so it's really important to think about, what does that do to the individual who is not receiving the information? What does that do to the student who gets their assignment or the access to the article 2 days later after everybody else in their class? So it's just important to be thinking about the individuals that we're working with and making sure that that as we're working with them, we're providing things in a format that they can actually access and that they can use. And then the last one is John is an adult who's blind, has a seizure disorder and a head injury, and he got a job at a restaurant, which he was very proud of. John worked with IDB employment specialist, one of the team members at the restaurant, and a job coach to find different accommodations that would work. And after a few days on the job with the job coach, a new coach was brought in, and John all of a sudden no longer had a job. The new job coach spoke with the employer and explained that it was a risk to have John doing this job because of his vision loss and his seizures. We stopped working with that job coach in particular, but this did really happen. An individual was very excited about the job. It was the first job that they had ever had. Sorry. And they lost it because the job coach in this particular situation just didn't know, I think, enough about vision loss and the individual themselves and was concerned. In any case, like I said, we're not working with that job coach anymore, but, you know, just think about what that does. Hopefully you're thinking about what that does to an individual who's experiencing that type of reaction. And then the last one I'm going to share is Sarah is a student. This is one of my favorite stories. Sarah is a student who has been working with a school counselor and is told she should not pursue science courses. She has decided to go in a different direction. But while working with her vocational rehabilitation counselor, they explored other careers, and Sarah consistently came back to science. At the IEP meeting, it was again brought up that she should not pursue science-related fields because it was too visual. And the department, however, supported Sarah in a career as a registered nurse, which she is now happily doing here in Iowa. So we have to be sure that the personal opinions and biases that we have about a person's ability do not become the driving force behind the decisions we're helping them to make. We have to allow individuals to explore different careers, to come up with solutions to problems, and most importantly, to develop their passion. So how do we partner? And I'm going kind of slow, so I'm gonna, if I need to speed up, I will try. So some steps in IDB vocational rehabilitation and how we work with our community partners can really assist an individual if they're going through the vocational rehabilitation process. So some quick steps, and many of you probably know this, but with our VR internal processes, individuals are referred to our agency when we take an application. Then we move an individual through to eligibility determination, followed by a comprehensive assessment analysis, develop an individualized plan for employment, and then begin to implement vocational rehabilitation services until employment is obtained and held for a minimum of 90 days before case closure. 90 days really is, that's the minimum. We are very rarely at 90 days and tend to support our individuals, you know, for several months while they're learning the new job or trying to figure out new technology that will assist them in the workplace. So a couple things that community providers should know is one, referrals. We take referrals online. Individuals can call. We can get faxes. Individuals can self-refer, and individuals can also just walk in the door and refer themselves that way as well. So there's a number of ways that the department will take referrals. One of the key things, though, to keep in mind is that we really need to have reliable contact information for the individual if you are referring them to us. Once we get that intake or application completed, we start that process, or we should be starting the process of eligibility determination, and hopefully that's happening within about 2 weeks is when we're starting that process. So just a quick, I guess, more visual, again, is when the individual or guardian, they need to be available to participate in the VR process. So please, if you are calling in for an individual and are with them, let us know if there is a guardian involved in the situation that we need to get to the table as well. We do work with individuals as young as age 14 and all the way up until whatever age a person wants to quit working, I suppose. But they're able to apply for services, and then our community rehabilitation providers and other partners as well can assist by providing a number of things, if possible: medical and assessment documentation, employment achievements and barriers, if you're aware of them, strategies and accommodations that have worked or not worked in the past with the client, and then, of course, any other information that might be helpful, like family information or the supports that the individual has. Obviously, getting this information is going to help our vocational rehabilitation counselors determine eligibility a little more quickly. But the other piece is it'll allow an individual who's applying for services to have an answer more quickly and to start services if they are eligible more quickly, so that they can move forward with their plan for employment and developing that plan. With regard to after eligibility, we really want, if possible, individuals who are part of that client's team to participate in counseling and guidance as needed, to be a part of the comprehensive needs assessment, and as the individual is deciding on a vocational goal. It's important that we're discussing steps and services needing to reach the goal with the client, the vocational rehabilitation counselor, and those that are supporting the client as we work to develop the written individualized plan for employment. And as we go along throughout the life of a vocational rehabilitation case, we do a number of amendments when things change, and we like to make sure that we are constantly keeping track of what's going on with an individual's case. After eligibility, as I said, we are able to adjust services as needed to achieve that long-term employment goal. So the Department for the Blind can really assist community rehab programs and other providers by providing training regarding the Iowa Department for the Blind programs and services, training in alternative techniques of blindness, assisting with assessments, and then also through some of our other services, such as our library services, assistive technology services, accessibility, helping with different types of accommodations or defining accommodations, and then also with problem solving and providing different types of resources as you're working with individuals who are blind in your programs as well. This next slide just shows that there are a number of individuals who have vision loss who are working in a number of different businesses, such as Kirkwood Community College, Wells Fargo, Red Cross, Pizza Hut, Tabor Manor, DMAC, Mediacom, Regis Salon, Quest, Osco Drugs, Dowling High School. So a number of different types of businesses out there, and they're doing a lot of different types of jobs, from accountants to bakers, helpers, college professors, collection agencies, auto card operators, child care workers, etc. There really are no jobs that, or there aren't too many jobs that an individual who is blind wouldn't be able to pursue. Learning more, the Iowa Department for the Blind, our website is always there. We do have Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and some different blogs that you can certainly access. We also give tours of our agency. So if you are in the Des Moines area and you want to take a tour, please contact Janice and she can help set that up for you. We also have volunteer opportunities for individuals who want to volunteer within our different programs. And then we have some online magazines, and we can also provide a speaker to different events across the state. Some different support or resources as well is if you have any, or if you are looking for support groups, resources for parents of blind children, or want to know what that referral email address is or that referral page looks like, feel free to access the link shown, which is www.idbonline.org/form/referral. And ending with successful collaboration. Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. And that was said by Henry Ford. And I've just really always liked that one as we've been talking about partnerships. So I'm going to end there for now. Are there any questions that I can answer or that anybody has about any of the information I've shared today?
Hi, Keri, this is Frida. I'm not seeing any additional questions at this point in time.
Okay. So what do I do?
Keri, thank you so much, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. Jess will be sending out the recording from the webinar and also the presentation slides. And please don't forget to complete the evaluation survey. We do have 3 upcoming webinars. Please join us next month, July 16th, for Iowa and IPS with Employment First subject matter expert Jackie Pogue. August 20th for the role of the job coach with Sue-Ann Morrow and Leanne Russo. And September 4th for Future Ready Iowa with Kathy Leggett. Thanks so much.